Taiwan is also flexing its musical muscles. The saxophone may have originated in Paris, made by a Belgian by the name of Adolphe Sax. But in Holy, central Taiwan, there's a family that's been perfecting the instrument for over 60 years.
你看，类似就是像美国的那个肯尼基啊，知名的那些萨克斯风家，他们是有用我们的，还是早期那个克林顿总统啊来到台湾啊，我们总统还是送给他。
The Zhang family has been churning out handcrafted saxophones in Holy since Lian Changzhang put his first one together in 1945. Before the Zhangs put the custom in custom-made, they need the raw components.
我们这边是萨克斯风的主体制造工厂，材料的部分我们选用德国跟日本，因为品质还有材质都是比较好的。
The path from sheet of brass to music maker begins with stamping. Imagine an industrial-strength cookie cutter with a lot more force involved. 50 tons worth, in fact. Each piece of the body and bell of the saxophone comes from a sheet of brass that's exactly the same thickness to ensure consistency throughout the instrument. With each stamp, the individual components of the saxophone begin to take shape. This piece will become the thin, tapered neck. Sound-sensitive parts, like the bell section of the saxophone, are then covered in plastic for the next phase, shaping. To protect this all-important home of the saxophone's tone. During shaping, the blank templates of brass acquire some of those sleek curves the sax is noted for. Machines shape the larger pieces, while experienced hands take on the more intricate details. And together, they team up to craft the saxophone's basic form. Then it's time to call in the blowtorch to close the gaps. The flame burns bright at a temperature of up to 200 degrees Celsius. Luckily, this master welder has over 40 years of experience under his belt. Shaping the bell is the most difficult part of the process, owing to its curves. The forming process is moved along by something that might seem indelicate, but it actually requires an expert touch. A wooden mallet. As it cools, the brass softens, so flame must be put to it again to keep it warm and soft. This time, the temperature is ramped up to 1,000 degrees. The neck then gets a reverse chiropractic session. Making a saxophone is all about continual stages of refinement, turning raw hunks of dented and misshapen metal into glorious, shimmering musical masterpieces. Any remaining dents, dings, or rough edges are removed. Next up, a specially made ring is welded around the outside of the bell, now perfectly round. And the raw components are ready to go. Now, onto the matter of tone. Tone holes are what allow a saxophone to make beautiful music. When covered, these tone holes will alter the pitch of the sound produced by the saxophone. Each hole is capable of producing a different note when uncovered. Each saxophone will have between 20 and 23 tone holes filling out the body, depending on its size. The smaller the tone hole, the higher the note produced. After the holes are punched out, they're carefully sanded down. A smooth sound comes from a perfectly smooth instrument. Every tone hole must be perfectly flat to ensure a tight seal when the keys are fitted over them. With the tone holes in place, it's time to start the assembly process. First, the body, bell, and neck are fitted together and welded in place via the blowtorch treatment. Then the pieces that will hold all the precision parts in place are carefully soldered onto the body. One saxophone has about 300 working parts, including posts, rods, and keys, pieces that will be manipulated by the hands of the player. Next, the sax is sent off to get a bit of polish.
磨平来，再来就是抛光，然后再焊接。我们整只要把它抛起来嘛，没有烧起来，整只黑黑的。其实像在抛光哦，就是好像我们在擦皮水一样。
Any remaining rough bits are sanded down to make the surface perfectly smooth. Getting a once-over from a buffer leaves the saxophones covered in excess oil and wax. That comes off with the help of a mildly acidic solution. Once the pieces emerge from their bath with their brand new shine, they're hung out to dry for half an hour. Then they undergo finishing, either by buffing or sandblasting. Finishing not only helps the saxophones get that final push over the edge in the looks department, but different types of finishing can actually help the instrument achieve different types of tones. So in the end, it really is all about the music. Finally, the finished pieces of the saxophone are on their way to the assembly line, ready to be put together. Alone, they're still just pieces of metal, albeit shiny and pretty ones. But together, they'll achieve a whole new level of beauty. Now it's time for the finishing touches. Keypads are fitted into place with an industrial adhesive. Speaking of small parts, here they are. All the pieces that will come together to make the instrument. Products of time, care, and innovation. Honed, crafted, and refined here in Taiwan. Now, the moment of truth, putting everything together. Each pad must be fitted into place before their seal is put to the test. A light is inserted into the body of the sax to ensure each key is in perfect position so that no light escapes. But testing wasn't always like this.
其实，在阿公的时代哦，在那些60年代的话，他们就是用烟吹下去的话哦，假如说他们都全部压着嘛，吹下去看哪里有不好的东西，他们白烟就会跑出来了，好像我们叫光线跑出来这样。有时候一天都抽了1-2包，他们一直要去测试嘛。
Hours upon hours, weeks upon weeks of effort, and here is the reward. The musical fruit of one family's impassioned labor. An effort spanning 4 generations to produce the sweetest sounds. A gift to the world from holy Taiwan.